What's impeding legislation on for-profit colleges, which I know is a pet issue of yours?
I've offered it several times. It turns out they have friends in high places.
We are Corinthian colleges.
Democratic Senator Richard Durbin is talking about for-profit colleges, an industry he and other critics say is rife with fraud.
They overcharge. Students get so deeply in debt they drop out, or they get worthless diplomas and can't find a job.
Durbin has led the fight to reform the for-profit college industry, a fight that has failed, perhaps until now. We sat with the senator in his Capitol office.
And you find it when you try to take them on, and I've tried several times, that some of the people, the highest-ranking people in Congress, come to their defense.
Durbin and his colleagues say the bankruptcy of Corinthian colleges reveals an epidemic of fraud and deception, all carried out on the backs of students and taxpayers.
Why is it so difficult to get traction on this issue?
Well, because so many people are misled about this industry. 10% of high school graduates go to for-profit schools. 20% of all the federal aid to education goes to those schools. They charge so much tuition. 44% of all the student loan defaults in America are students from for-profit schools.
That's a very good question.
But watchdog groups say an entirely different set of numbers stands in the way of congressional action and oversight.
Since 2009, the for-profit education industry has spent more than $43 million lobbying Washington.
Viveka Novak is with the Center for Responsive Politics.
A lot of people think that lobbying money is spent to actually get action. As often as not, it is spent to stop action, to stop negative action against the industry. And I think that's more of what you're seeing in this case.
According to Bloomberg, the top 5 earning CEOs of publicly traded for-profit colleges took in over $24 million in combined salary in fiscal year 2014.
The first person to profit is the CEO. They have taken federal Pell Grants. Instead of taking them as a way to subsidize students' educations, they've taken them as a way to create an industry and make themselves, sometimes their stockholders and other owners, rich.
Tennessee Representative Steve Cohen is backing legislation to provide more oversight.
The reason it's going to be difficult to get anything done with this bill is because of the pernicious influence of financial contributions by these people to both Democrats and Republicans at outrageously large levels.
There's a lot of ways they can make their case, but $43 million can buy a lot.
The biggest chunk of those $43 million has gone to Minnesota Republican John Klein, chairman of the House Committee on Education and the Workforce. Klein has received more than $400,000 from the industry over the course of his career.
It's a lot for one industry to give a member of Congress, especially an industry as small as the for-profit education industry is.
One last question.
We asked Representative Klein how he felt about being the biggest recipient of this money, especially in light of the controversies and failures in that industry.
I don't sit there and try to evaluate, well, how much money did I get from this sector, how much money did I get from that sector. That's not how it's supposed to work. It's not how it works.
Is giving money back an option?
Education Secretary Arne Duncan says lobbying money stands in the way of solving the problem. In a press conference this month announcing a department decision to discharge some student loans in the Corinthian bankruptcy, Duncan said that Congress needs to be a partner on reform.
This has to be a wake-up call to Congress. And I'd be hard-pressed to believe that folks on either side of the aisle want to stand behind guys where there is so much deception of students and waste of taxpayer dollars.
Until now, members of Congress like John Klein have stood behind those schools. But Senator Durbin says change may come soon with the reauthorization of the Higher Education Act, which will enhance oversight of these schools.
We sent $600 million in student loans to Corinthian after we knew that they were failing. We let them sign up new students after we knew that this was a failing corporation. And now these kids are stuck with the loans and the debt, and we're stuck as taxpayers explaining why we continue to funnel money there. I notice my colleagues in the caucus are starting to pay closer attention.
And more than 1.3 million students are paying attention as well. Michael Schur, Al Jazeera, Washington.